soldier, Indian Army officer, and of course, now I'm retired. An absolute civilian as they come, but the soldier in me, I guess, never dies. So when you speak after a thought leader, you are actually challenged. You know, when S. Gurumurthy ji, who's just left, has spoken, actually you have very little to say. I can only compare it when Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have batted. I think there's nothing much to look forward to. But yet here I am. I need to bat that balance of the part. Nation first comes very naturally to a soldier. When Captain Vikram Batra, Captain Manoj Kumar Pandey decide to walk into the hail of bullets, knowing fully that the arms of death await them, they don't walk in with the idea of glory which will follow. And I can, trust me, I can share with you, for each person's whose glory gets acknowledged, there are scores who die for the country unacknowledged, unknown. Their only desire and commitment is nation first. The Nationalist collective is to work, fight, die for the country, and come back, if required, wrapped in the tricolor. So for us, as soldiers, it comes very, very natural. When the tricolor flutters on a pole, or when a body comes back wrapped in the tricolor, draped in the tricolor, our emotions remain same. We salute both. When the national anthem is sung, I'm not sure how many of you have the stirrings of your nape, your hair rising on a nape. Old man, 60 plus, 61 plus, it happens still for me every time I see the flag or I hear the national anthem. It gets me young. And therefore, my compliments to boss. I'm told that you call boss. Very hardly Arnav. Very few people call him Arnav. And Republic to have taken on a very contemporary subject of nationalist collective. And why do I say this? While it comes very natural to us, the commitment to the nation as first and foremost to everything, to family, to our own personal honor, comfort, and safety. But when you come out to the civil society, in spite of my 42.5 years of uniformed, committed service to the country, and somebody asks me, who are you? And if I say, Bharatiya, most of you will roll your eyes. Number of you, especially the elite, the stars, the people of upper middle class will think, what is he talking about? Bharatiya, in spite of my multiple tenures in Kashmir, in spite of Glacier, in spite of number of operational tenures opposite Chinese. But when you come back and you talk of nation first, a lot of people actually roll their eyes. But things are changing. Things are changing when you see the dastardly act of Pahalgam happening. And I spoke to ANI on the very second day, and I told that the country must remember that young woman sitting with her chura next to the dead body of her husband forever. They must remember that it needs to be avenged, not today, but forever. Because this silence, this idea which you don't have nation first, is going to come and kill and get after you after some time. And that emotion upsurge, which was seen not only on the social media, but overall in the consciousness, the celebration of punishment post of Sindoor, which was witnessed mostly amongst the youth, actually fills me with a lot of hope that there is a stirrings which was missing, as Shri S. Gurumurthy had said, in the first 3 generations. There is a stirrings of that emotional appeal to our youth, and I am so privileged to be seeing a generation or Generation Z or millennials which will have the love of the country coming up afresh. Maybe it is destiny. Maybe because of first 6 to 7 decades, our country was trying to put food on the plate, build houses, coming out to be an economic, from the ashes of the economic dust the colonial masters had left us, come to survive. But as we strive, as we are today the 4th largest economy in the world, nationalism, nationalist culture has to be rejuvenated or revived. It's imperative, it's important. Because as you strive to sit on the high table of the global powers in a multipolar world by 2047, as Viksit Bharat, trust me, every other country, small or big, is going to fight to deny you that space. And they are going to come after you because our country, Bharat, is extremely unique. We are divided vertically, we are divided horizontally. We are segmentized by language, by food, by culture, by dance, by the way we look, by geographical entities in terms of differences. We are so divided that the political parties are, finding new ways to divide us and come out for a vote bank politics. And I and million soldiers who are serving on the borders, who are veterans like General G.D. Bakshi, we will be actually not very comfortable with this idea of fragmentation. There is a need to continuously bind us together through an idea of a nation. I will just very quickly try and explain to you what is a nation. Anybody who's an academic, who has read the Britishers' English, will know that the Webster speaks of nation as an entity of unitary geography. It's very, very limited in terms of geography, language, or culture. And later on, it became also as religion, which binds a group of people. When the Westphalian Treaty was signed in 1648, about 400 years back, they again espoused for issues of governance to bound people with small entities to make it easier for govern a group of people who were having common language, common religion, common culture. But 2000 years back, before Westphalia, Chanakya has talked of Rashtra. And Rashtra is much more a broader phenomena. Bharatvarsh was not the today's geographical boundary. It was much larger than what is today. Not only in terms of physical terms, but also the cultural expanse and the reach, which touched the shores of Bali into one extremity and touched the African and other continents onto the other side. And it had milieu of people who had different cuisines, different languages, different mother languages. But yet they were bound, integrated, synergized. They were compelled to live together because there was not a very clear geographical line to divide each of the people. So come what may, people may try to divide us in terms of caste, color, religion, everything. The beauty of our diversity is that we are so diverse that two people sitting in this hall together are not similar in any way, unlike what happens in possibly Europe into smaller countries which are bound by something, one common feature. And that compels us to live together. This compellence can also become our strength and has been our strength for some time. We need to learn from the best. And I can assure you, one of the best people, in spite of the political divide which Shri Gurumurthy ji has talked of, is US of America. It is one of the youngest democracies. 250 years back, migrants poured into it, and they decided to form a nation. Nation of migrants. People came from Germany, they were from British, Anglo-Saxons, Italians, Irish, the works. They had different languages, different cultures, different philosophies, different ideologies. But they bound together and constructed, curated a system of nationalism. Everything which you go to US is curated to strive to espouse a feeling of nationalism. School children from tiny tots are carried for conducted tours by order, by compulsion. It is volunteer, but it has happened as a natural process over a period of time that every child visits national monuments and thereafter they are talked of issues which are related to nationalism. And thereafter, in last about 200 years, millions of migrants have gone, and none of them first talks that I'm an Indian, I'm a German. They will first say I'm an American. And when you look into our country, we'll be divided into number of phases, number of titles we can give ourselves. I hope that in the end, if we are able to work out a way forward, way ahead, we all, when we are asked in India and outside, who are you? The first answer should be, we are Bharatiya, we are Indians. I had put out a quote when Op Sindur was happening on my Instagram handle. Be the citizen worth fighting for. A message from Indian Armed Forces. It can only happen when you have that feeling of the love for your tricolor in your heart. I'll just simply give an example of Indian Armed Forces. We are a microcosm of our country, of our Desh, Bharat. Every segment of our society comes and sits as part of our armed forces. What happens? That a recruit who comes out of a village, semi-urban or an urban area, within 9 months, by the time he becomes a soldier, he no more remains a Malayali, a Tamil, a Bihari, or a Kashmiri. He becomes a Fauji, a soldier, willing to come back home in tricolor, draped in tricolor. There is something which transforms. And a young man who joins Indian Army as an officer, within just about a year's training, something transforms him magically. That he thinks of nothing else, of his regiment and of his country. Maybe we need to learn from the ethos and the values which transforms this young man of 16 to 18 to 19 years old to be that man who has to be respected and loved and acknowledged. I'll again give a very small example. When you start flying tricolor and you normalize it, and this was an experiment we did in Kashmir. If you recall, few years back, there were all types of flags which are normal in Kashmir. But when we started a movement called Tiranga movement in Kashmir, it was not a compulsory movement. It was a movement which was through the people, for the people. But it just required some degree of encouragement, a positive encouragement and participation. And today, you know very well that Lal Chowk is draped in tricolor. There was a movement yesterday which was carried out to celebrate Op Sindur by the people of Kashmir, all carrying tricolor. There are a large number of events which are conducted not only from Lal Chowk, from multiple sources in Kashmir, wherein people actually fly tricolor with pride. It is matter of just normalizing it. Unfortunately, flying a tricolor has become subservient to flying different type of other colors. The day we start normalizing, I think nation first will become not only a movement, it'll just become something what is very common in America. And I stayed for 1 year and I used to always wonder, each house of a Mexican, of an Indian, of a Anglo-Saxon used to have their star and stripes flying, right? He may be any part of the divide of the political spectrum, but they always carried star and stripes as something to recognize with, right? And I'm sure with this venture which you've launched, Arnav, we should, and it is possible. It is possible to do it in a decade's time. But yes, it has to be a people's movement. It has to be a movement through the government machineries, which needs to be rolled out effectively, and we can achieve this in no time. Thank you so much.